Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Max Velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be going over the huge severe weather event that is expected across portions of the United States this week. We'll also be discussing the huge winter storm that could bring several feet of snow to some areas in the northern plains back through the Midwest, could even impact the Northeast. I'll give you the latest breakdown on both of those situations and more in this forecast. But let's first begin with what's expected here over the next several days across the United States, which it all begins from the west coast of the United States. Quite interestingly enough, over in the Sierra Nevada, there's actually been a lot of snowfall. We've seen several feet of snow already fall in some of the mountain region back over in California. Now, this trough will eventually move off to the east over the next few days. It will develop into a system that produces not just severe weather, it could also produce the potential for a full-on blizzard. So this will be something to watch for very closely. It will begin with some severe weather back through the southern plains, could impact areas from Kansas back through Texas, could even impact areas all the way back to the east into Florida. Back over to the north, we have this system that is likely going to produce some sort of winter storm at this point, could potentially be a blizzard. This will all go through the northern plains, it'll move into the Midwest, and it'll eventually impact areas back over into New England. Now, and we do have several watches and warnings ongoing this morning. I'm not even kidding, there are several of them. We have blizzard warnings, we have winter storm warnings, winter storm watches, we have winter weather advisories, we have dense fog advisories from some areas as well. And really the big concern right now is going to be this blue boxed area. That is our winter storm watch. That does mean within the next 48 hours that winter storm conditions are expected. Back over to the northeast into New England, there is winter weather advisories currently ongoing. There's a few inches of snow that is expected to fall in western New England back into New York. We also have winter storm warnings ongoing back over into the west coast of the United States, or on the west half of the United States, I should say. We also have a couple of blizzard warnings ongoing back over in Utah. Now, overall, in terms of the snow, we could see several inches. This is the National Weather Service blend of models. It gives us an idea from different perspectives and really kind of combining all the models together to give us an idea of how much snow we might see. So overall, back over in the Dakotas, we could see several inches, potentially a couple of feet in some areas. Back over through Minnesota, there's a good chance in that state that we see, for the most part, between about 6 to 12 inches of snow. And then back through Wisconsin into the Midwest, there's a good chance that we'll see several inches there. Now, just kind of keep in mind, this is a general picture. You might not see as much snow as this is showing, or you could even see more snow. This is just kind of a very broad look at things. Back over in areas like Chicago, like the big city, for example, we could potentially see maybe a coating there, but it does not seem like much accumulation will go there. Now, New England is an area that has two shots at snow this week. One is going to be in the next 24 to 36 hours. That's going to dump upwards of 1 to 6 inches of snow. Really, the greatest areas will be eastern New York back through western Massachusetts. But eventually going into late this week, that trough will move off to the east, could potentially bring upwards of a foot to maybe even a foot and a half of snow to some areas in New England. Now, this is kind of far out, so I'm not going to get into too specific here, but there's a possibility for a lot of snow going into late next week, maybe into the weekend. So definitely a situation to watch if you're in New England. Potentially for this upcoming weekend, we very well could see some really hefty snowfall going into the weekend. Now, the big discussion for at least the short term right now is the potential for severe weather. It all begins tomorrow with a marginal threat for severe weather across basically western and central portions of Oklahoma, goes back through Kansas, and as well as North Texas. This is going to be for the main concern of damaging winds, isolated large hail, potential for maybe an isolated brief tornado. That would primarily be over there west of the Metroplex there near Dallas and Fort Worth. Now, going into the following day, into Tuesday, this is a day that we have to watch for much more closely. There is an enhanced risk for severe weather. I don't know if this will get upgraded at this point. The ingredients are definitely there, but getting this upgraded maybe to a moderate risk as possible. High risk does seem kind of unlikely right now, but there's a chance, at least for right now, of severe weather. Enhanced risk is ongoing for northern and central Louisiana back through western Arkansas. Slight risk through East Texas into western and southwestern Mississippi. Main concerns right now are damaging winds, large hail, and a few tornadoes. A strong tornado or two are definitely possible in this setup. Now, first beginning with over there in North Texas, this is just a general look at how storms will begin, at least for late Monday night into Tuesday morning for that marginal threat of severe weather. There will likely be a little line of storms that develops along the cold frontal boundary going into early Tuesday morning. This could potentially produce some storm activity there near DFW. Now, unfortunately, the computer models do not go that far out at this current time, so I'll have more details on specific timing in my forecast most likely tomorrow. Going into the timing on the European model, storms will roll through the Metroplex most likely during the morning hours. Severe weather is not expected to be that significant, but damaging winds, isolated large hail, isolated brief tornado are going to be possible. By Tuesday afternoon, that line and cluster of storms moves into eastern Texas and eventually will shift its way into Louisiana. So Louisiana right around 3 to 6 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll see plenty of thunderstorm activity. Then eventually going to the evening and overnight hours, storms will roll through slowly into areas like Mississippi, and that will eventually create the potential for severe weather actually over there in potentially the southeast, so maybe even into Florida going into Wednesday. And eventually going into Arkansas, again, storms are most likely going to occur during the afternoon hours. Damaging winds, large hail, few tornadoes possible here as well. And eventually going to the overnight hours, it will clear out in Arkansas. So most likely just an afternoon and maybe early evening threat there in Arkansas. And also severe weather potential does exist heading into Wednesday. This will include areas from Mississippi, Alabama, western Florida, so the Panhandle, as well as eastern Louisiana. Current threats right now are damaging winds, large hail, possibility for a couple of tornadoes. Make sure to like button down below, subscribe if you've not already. This forecast is brought to you by Platinum Contracting.